Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be finishing up these two chef's knives. I've got a 6-inch camp chef knife and an 8-inch kitchen chef knife, and in this video I'm going to be putting on handles and finishing up the blades. I'll also be making a Kydex sheath for the camp chef knife. So let's get to it. This blade here is going to get these black micarta and green G10 scales, along with a 1/4 inch stainless steel pin in the middle, and then 4 other 2mm stainless steel pins on the edges. This one is going to get this stag mosaic pin in the center, and then 3 stainless steel 2mm pins, and then 1 hollow lanyard tube that will be a 3/8 inch stainless steel tube. It's got this OD green micarta and then red liners to match the mosaic pin. So I think these are going to look slick, and we'll get to it. So I've got these two blades finished up. I haven't sharpened them yet, but I've got the surface finished to where I want it. I took both of them up to a 320 grit finish, and then I hit them both with a fine surface conditioning belt. I've got another fine surface conditioning belt that I load up with black polishing compound. I'm gonna get these taped up so I don't scratch them or mess up the finish, and then we're gonna get handles on them. I've got the handles completely dry fitted up. I finished the front faces of the handles up to 400 grit. I've cleaned all the components with acetone, so I'm ready to actually epoxy up the handles. Alright, we let these cure overnight, so we're ready to start shaping the handles. So if you've ever watched any of my knife builds, you know I love a good Coke bottle handle. That's what this 8-inch chef's knife is going to get. Man, this mosaic pin I think is going to look just sweet, and the red liners together, So I thought I'd take a second and talk through what I do when I make these Coke bottle handles. Personally for me, the only thing I really like a Coke bottle handle on is a chef's knife. Every other knife, I would prefer to have it more flat or maybe kind of faceted. With this chef's knife, the first thing I start with is this front bevel. A couple things that I look for is how far back I want it to come, keeping it even along here. A lot of times what you'll see is you rock forward or down too far when you're pressing into the grinder. You'll end up with an uneven grind, and you can see it most pronounced in this, where this side will be much thicker or this side will be much thicker. This is just a 60 grit belt, so you know, there's little imperfections, but I tend to go a little bit rougher with that one, and then I'll refine it as I progress up through my belts. It's relatively even. It's a little bit thicker down here, but I can fix that as I go up through the belts, and you get a little bit more fine control with 120 or 220 grit or even higher. Also, you want to pay attention. You'll see me when I'm making these where I'll constantly be grabbing it, and that's really just to feel where the apex of this sort of bevel or this chamfer starts, and I want that to sit right behind my index finger. And so, I mean, obviously I've got the finger choil, but you can kind of feel this in your hand, and there's just kind of it's basically that it sits in this knuckle, or whatever the backside of your knuckles are called. You want that chamfer to kind of follow this line up from your finger, so the finger fits into the choil, and then you want that chamfer to start and kind of continue up into the hand, and that's what gives a really nice, comfortable grip. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on these rounded out parts, and that you want the backside of your palm to sit into this. And so this one is generally going to be angled, and I tend to follow the angles of my pins depending on where they're at. The front side can either be as dramatic of an angle or more straight, but I kind of just do it by feel, and I'll kind of adjust it as I go. I'm going to work on this backside for the hand, and I do this on the top wheel. It's a 2-inch wheel on my platen, so that'll give me a nice large radius that kind of fits well for the hand. Alright, so now you can see I've got the two main components to a Coke bottle handle. I've got these curved hand recesses here, and I've got these front bevels or chamfers up there. And this fits super nice. I mean, obviously it's still blocky. I've got to round off all these corners and stuff, but those are the two main components. If you get to this spot and you've got everything relatively even, you've come in as far on the top side and the bottom side, and it's even on both sides, and you've got nice chamfers that are equal on both sides. If you get to this spot, you are all set. Stop hitting everything aggressively with the grinder, and you can kind of just start rounding out all of these edges, all these sharp edges. Real light pressure, and kind of just taking it pass by pass. I like to put in little chamfers on the heel too. But like, you've probably done about 90% of the work if you make it to this spot without ruining a handle. So this is probably the most important part. You really want this to be comfortable for the index finger to wrap around. Be careful that you don't round out any of this swell here. You really want that swell for leverage. But other than that, this is the hard part, keeping everything symmetrical up to this point. Once you get here, you're set. Then just take it slow, round everything out. Check it constantly with your hand, make sure it's comfortable, and then once you get to whatever belt progression you want to go, I go up to about a 220 on the belt grinder, and then I switch to hand sanding, and I usually take it up to either 400 or 600 grit depending on the finish. With this, I'll probably go up to 600 grit, so I can get this micarta to really pop. wrap up the build for this week. As I mentioned before, the 6-inch Camp Chef knife is for Drew over at Evergreen Overland. I'll put a link to his channel in the video description so you can go check out some of his stuff. If you're interested in having a knife made, you can reach out through the contact form on my website, davidmoonforge.com, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram at davidmoonforge. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. I hope I see you in the next build.